So I'd experienced triathlon, and I'd really caught the bug. And it was in Nepal that I learned to love cycling. Mm-hmm. So when I came back from Nepal, I wanted to make a conscious effort to train for triathlon, and I never expected or never even dreamed that I would be doing it professionally. I just wanted to give it a shot.
Sure.
And see how good I could be. So I did a couple of races. The first one, I borrowed a wetsuit and hadn't worn it before the race. Got into the water. The wetsuit was far too big for me. It flooded. I sank and had to be rescued by a kayaker. And that was the first race my parents ever saw, and then they never watched me again until Ironman Germany last year. And the next race was the Shropshire Triathlon, very famous triathlon that everyone should do. Anyway, it was one of the qualifying races for the World Age Group Championships, and I managed to win that race.
Different wetsuit?
A different wetsuit. And actually the day before I learned how to mount and dismount using my new clip-in pedals. But the day that I won that race and qualified for the World Amateur Championships, my grandmother actually passed away. So that was where it all really began, at that race. So it meant a lot to me to do that for her. So I raced in Lausanne at the World Age Group Championships in September, and I think that was when my life changed.
When you finished that race, did you feel like, okay, I want more, that there's something here?
I think it was winning that race, and I think winning by the margin that I did made me realize that I had a talent that I should try and make the most of. And I think it's very difficult to make the most of that talent if you're trying to balance work and training. So I had to make a decision about whether or not to give up my job and really give professional triathlon a shot. Focusing on Olympic distance triathlon, actually, or whether just to do it as an amateur, and I never want to look back and think, what if?
Right.
So I took that chance.
And when you took that chance, is that when you went out to see Brett Sutton to see if, hey, this is somebody who's an expert in the sport, and have him evaluate me?
Yeah, I went to see Brett in January 2007, mm-hmm. So at that point I was still working. And I didn't know who Brett was. I didn't know who he had coached. I didn't know the amount of champions he'd had under him.
Right.
But someone told me, just go out and see this guy, Brett Sutton. So I went out for a week, and he just gave me sessions, and right. I did the sessions.
And what type of sessions were those to begin with? Because those must have come as a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, there were some tough sessions. He had me almost falling off the back of a treadmill. I was running at 16k an hour on a treadmill. He put me on that, and I did this home trainer session, and we were doing hill repeats up and down. But I'll work as hard as I possibly can. So right. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the pain, and he didn't give me a lot of feedback. He doesn't give a lot of feedback. Even when I first won Hawaii, all he said was, good job, kid. And for him, that's a huge compliment. But he didn't say a lot to me. But one thing he did say that I remember is, you've got the physical ability, but I think I'm going to have to chop your head off. Not that unattractive, he said. But no, he meant. I'm can be very bullet a china shop. I like to to run with things and run very quickly and often think later. And I think he wanted to make me realize that to be a professional triathlete, I had to be more methodical in my thought process, a bit more deliberate in the way that I approached things. And hopefully I'm learning to do that. And it's something that, you know, I'm still trying to take on board and you know, still trying to mature in that respect. But yeah, I remember that was one of his first words to me. But yeah, he gave me that chance, and he saw something in me that I definitely hadn't seen, and I knew that he saw a long course athlete long before I ever did.
Because really, at that point, he had a lot of different athletes on the team, and when he first said to you, hey, I think you're ready for Ironman Korea, because really, you were still thinking of yourself as an Olympic distance athlete.
Yeah, I think it was Alpe d'Huez, that 2007 Alpe d'Huez long course, which is an absolutely fantastic race. It's a 2.2k swim, 115k bike, and then 22k run at the top of Alpe d'Huez. So that's a long course race because it takes around 6.5 hours. And I think it was when I won that I really realized that I preferred the long course racing, and that perhaps I would be ready for an Ironman. And Ironman Korea was about 5 weeks after that. And yeah, Brett said to me, do you want to do an Ironman? And I remember distinctly, I said to him, am I ready? And he said yes, and I said, yeah, I do.
And then you go to Korea, and did you flatten Korea?
It's a recurring theme, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've had my fair share. I've had 3 now, so that's
should be done. Yeah.
Yeah. I came out of the water into T1, and my tire was flat in T1. So I spent about 7 minutes repairing it in T1, and then was on the road.
And then you still won the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Hello. Okay, so and then Korea to Kona was how long?
5 weeks, and Brett made me do this Singapore 70.3 the next weekend after Kona, after Korea. So I flew Korea to Singapore, did Singapore 70.3, and was running like a tin woman. And then I think it was 5 weeks from that point until
Kona.